underway, could I invite the Zone Committee representatives, Gina Wable, Shelley Washington, Les Wanhala, Tammy Woods, and Shelley Washington for a second time. Could you come forward to the table, please? Good morning, welcome. Doesn't seem to be the right number of people there, so what? There's three of you, so what's the story? Sorry. Oh, okay, so if you could introduce yourselves and carry on. We have an apology from Ruben Arapata. Thank you.
Okay, I will start. My name is Gina Wybel. I'm the Deputy Chair of the Banks Peninsula Zone Committee. And yeah, I'll just give my report. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge Peri Tainui, who was a long-standing Zone Committee member and representative for Onuku Runanga, who sadly passed away last month. We were fortunate to have him speak at our last meeting about the work that he had done over a long period of time with youth at Onuku Marae. They hold a youth hui each year where the kids stay on the marae and learn about water management and mahinga kai, and they get taken eeling, and yeah, they even hold mock zone committee meetings. In your quarterly report, you'll see that we received a deputation from a resident of Birdlings Flat about powerboat racing on Wairewa, and there were some concerns around safety, noise and wildlife effects. The Zone Committee support low-speed recreation on the lake. It's in our zipper, and in terms of responsibilities, City Council was identified as being responsible for noise effects. While not directly related to the Zone Committee, I just thought I'd take the opportunity to comment on the Whakaora Healthy Harbour Plan in Whakaraupo, as it's something that we strongly support. And the Community Advisory Group has been formed and are currently meeting monthly to implement that plan. A common theme of those discussions is sediment, and the obvious contributors are roadside cuttings and drainage, and also stormwater that's discharging into the waterways. Yeah, there have been comments that the sediment from Diamond Harbour often sets off the port's monitoring buoys, the sediment that's coming out of Diamond Harbour. So we hope to see a commitment from Council to improve on the current situation, for example, when the stormwater management plan is developed in the next year or two. In relation to the Council's integrated water strategy that was out for consultation recently, some Zone Committees members have submitted and made personal submissions, but I'd just like to note that the committee itself often finds itself in the position where we can't formally submit on such plans as a committee, but we're also not formally consulted during the development of those plans. Lastly, I'd just like to note that we have a number of events coming up. There's a planting day on the Akuti River this Sunday. There will be a big planting day on the 7th of September at Kokorarata in Port Levy, which will effectively complete protection for that waterway from the source to the sea. And the Zone Committee are having a joint Whakaora public interest meeting on the 24th of September, focused on the Whakaora Healthier Harbour Plan and the work that's been done to date on that. That's all from me.
Thank you.
Kia ora. Les Wanhala from Tāmutu, co-chair on the Sawa Waihora Committee. I'd like to acknowledge one of our founding members who died last week, last month, Uncle Waitai George Tikau. He was a member right from the start and a very positive member right up to the last meeting he attended. Over the last year he dropped off a few of the meetings, but we certainly felt his presence even if he wasn't there. And we always had Uncle George in mind when we were making decisions around, Māori decisions. He will be greatly missed. He's unfortunately couldn't get to our 100th meetings coming up in December. I would have liked to see George there, but I think all of us would. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen now. I'd like to point out at the start of my report that the co-chair situation, well not situation, co-chair operation that we operate at Salawahura is working to full capacity. We had a zone committee, our zone committee has endorsed it for another 3 months to February, and with the hope of endorsing it through to the end of term. With my co-chair having a farming industry and myself in the kaikeakitanga side of it is really working well. Over the last 4 months we've built a good relationship with the public by taking our meetings across the district. We started off at Lincoln, went to Wairewa, Darfield, West Melton. We also are going to Lakeside Hall next month. There are a lot of groups in our rohi that we support. Wakaroa Te Arahura, Broadacres Kōrero Mudfish Project, Hayden's Pasture Mudfish Project, Ararura Yards Lagoon Land Care Group, Living Waters Yards Flat, Silver Stream and Snakes Creek Wetlands, Embankment Road Green Park Flats Wetlands, and the CWMS Waikirikiri Soul Recharge Working Group, and the working group, Soul and Waikirikiri Working Group for better, more swimmable Waikirikiri Soul. We've had 2 joint committees over with our zones in the last 4 months. One with the Bank Peninsula about Kaikeakitanga and Mahinga Kai, and the last month with Christchurch West Melton about urban waters and urban contaminants. It was a very enlightening meeting. Our members certainly asked a lot of questions of the Christchurch West Melton, where they are with the heavy metals and all the other urban contaminants. And I think that's where we need to go with the zone committees. It's my way of feeling that the zone committees were set up nine years ago more for the farmers than the urban areas. And I think now that we're tossing the table over a bit and including a lot more urban areas in our zone zips. We have a good working relationship with our partners, Fish and Game, DOC, SDC, Christchurch City Council and ECAN. We have reports from them every meeting. Not quite in-depth reports that we would like, but the reports there, unfortunately, our meetings are on the same days as your council meetings, so your council rep has a problem getting to them all, but she tries hard to get to what she can. And as I said earlier, our 100th anniversary meeting's coming up in December. We hope to celebrate it with a hangi out at Coes Ford. That's if Yayan is still on the committee with the selection, with the elections coming up in a couple of months' time. He's volunteered to put a hangi down, but I'm sure we could find other people within our rohi to help us out in doing that. Well, thank you, and just ask any questions.
Oh, well, I'll come back to the individual zones, but if we could have the third report, that would be great.
Tēnā koutou. I'm Tammy Woods. I'm the zone facilitator for the Christchurch West Melton Zone Committee. Today, as you noted, Arapata Rubin is an apology. He would have liked to have been here, but he had work issues crop up. I'll just briefly highlight in terms of the last quarter update from the Christchurch West Melton Zone Committee, they've just noted that they've completed the Addingbrook Living Catchment Management Plan, which should be a resource that's available as the City Council starts to look at updated stormwater management plans in the area. There's a little bit of a, just in terms of the looking forward at the moment in terms of the programs, and there'll be a continual focus on the stormwater superhero programs. I don't know if many of you've seen them in terms of at events and stuff around that, but that will continue to be a focus promoting stormwater and the risks for households, etc. And the last one I just wanted to draw your attention to was in terms of the work that they've done around nitrate in drinking water. The Zone Committee has been working to encourage the Ministry of Health to undertake research into the investigation about the correlation between nitrate levels in drinking water and incidences in terms of cancer. They wrote to the Ministry of Health twice. The second one was required as the first one hadn't answered their first question, which is about whether the research was actually being looked at. And they also have written to Otago University asking about research as well. They haven't received any responses from those letters at the moment, but they were also strongly encouraged by the remit that was progressed by the City Council and seeing that it got that 95% support. So they're following that with some real interest about how that progresses.
Actually, I might just begin with that because, in a way, up to update that we have written to now a range of ministers in relation to the urgent need for the research to be conducted. The advice that we've received is that the research is actually needed on a global scale. So it's not just for New Zealand's benefit, although we will benefit from the research, but it is to provide potentially significant support for the Danish study. So at the moment, the Danish study sits alone, and because it sits alone, it doesn't actually have the capacity to really influence the World Health Organization in terms of standards. So we've made it absolutely clear that the current drinking water standards New Zealand are not strong enough to provide the degree of protection if you were taking a properly based precautionary approach in light of the Danish study. But the New Zealand study really should sit alongside that. So it is urgent. The Ministry of Health have appointed a chief scientist, Ian Town, in order to progress a number of issues, but that is one of the issues. They have referred to him, and he has been working in close collaboration with Otago University. So we're all pointing in the same direction to get a result. So thank you very much to the Zone Committee for raising that issue. We actually copied your letter to the Minister of Health and to the Minister for the Environment. So thank you. Pauline and Phil.
Thank you. Elise, you mentioned the ECAN reports that we get at the Zone Committee at the Water. Do you get reports on nitrate levels regularly, like monthly reports?
It's very hard to hear you, Pauline. Can you speak up?
Just asking if they get monthly nitrate level reports.
We do, but we don't get enough, and we've asked the council to do a more in-depth testing and reporting of nitrates in the water. Test back to the source instead of saying that we know Coes Ford is contaminated most of the time.
Yeah.
We don't really need testing to say the Coes Ford is contaminated. We'd like to have a test and say where that contamination has come from. Test backwards from where we know it's contaminated.
Right.
And
So-
that we're not getting enough reports, no.
Right. And so for Tammy, is it ECAN's responsibility to test nitrate levels in Christchurch City Council area or the Christchurch City Council?
I think that's with, I'd have to check actually myself. I think in terms of the actual testing around the risks, some of that's carried out in terms of from the health perspective as well, but we'd have to follow it up for you.
Yeah, because I wouldn't mind taking that forward to find out who is responsible for that, and if we could, as City Council, get some nitrate level monitoring. I'm not sure if it comes through in our own water monitoring. we're more focused on E. coli and Protozoa at the moment, aren't we? So whether we want to look into that and find out more detail about who is responsible and how we can get regular reports on that, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Phil?
I had a similar question to Pauline in relation to what measurements are taken around the City Council bores going to the aquifers, and so it'd be useful to see that information too, whether it's from ECAN or City Council. But my question too is, and thank you for expressing your concerns in relation to the nitrates measurements and research. But and also I understand that you, as you said, you were not able to make a submission on City Council's integrated water strategy. But what I want to ask you about is in relation to the consultation that Environment Canterbury are doing in relation to Plan 2 and Plan 7. Are you, as committees, zone committees, able to submit on that? And the reason I ask is that in the document I saw there was no reference at all to the nitrates issue.
As committees of council, then no, they can't do actual submissions on it. Yeah.
That's interesting because I guess our community boards as a different kind of...
it's a different framework.
It's a different framework, they could. But thank you for that.
Yeah. There's certainly opportunities, staff turn up and give briefings and feedback is provided that, but the formal submissions, no.
Okay. Well, look, thank you very much. I mean, you can see where the issues lie. I should just close by acknowledging that the council did acknowledge the passing of Peri Tainui and George Tikar at our meeting of the 8th of August, after Pam Richardson, who's the chair of the local community board, acknowledged the work that they had done. So thank you very much for making reference to their contribution, which has been significant, and we really appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Sure.
And now we move on to the International Relations Policy Framework. Oh, sorry. You want to comment in the debate? Okay, sorry, I forgot to do that. So would someone like to move that the information be received? Phil, seconded by Pauline. Any discussion?
Yeah, thank you. I think cleaning up our waterways is really, really important, and we do have some integrated stormwater catchment plans that we're just waiting for the appeal and the mediation, and hopefully we can get onto those as soon as possible. But I did note that the government has announced a $12 million fund to clean up the waterways, and we don't seem to have any information about how we access that, and I don't know what endeavours are being done. But when you look at some of the things that's going for up in Kaipara, riparian planting, wetland preservation, fencing streams, using best science, it seems to be all the things that we're doing locally that we might want to see if there was funding support for. So can I just move a second thing as part of receiving the information, that we ask staff to investigate opportunities to access the government's the government's Clean Waterways Fund.
Well, would councillors Clearwater and Cotter be agreeable just simply to include that, receive the information, the zone committee's update reports, and ask staff to investigate the criteria for applying to the government's allocation to clean up waterways? Is that all right?
Yeah, I think that would be really good.
Yeah. Okay,
cool.
So I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no.